Hey everyone, welcome back to our next episode of 6 Feet Under Exhumed. I'm Kari the Mortician.
I'm Faith, that mortuary professor. We have two guests with us today. We are going to be talking about season 3, episode 4. What's the title of the episode, Carrie?
The one
Do you
I
know?
don't write down. Do you girls know this?
Uh, Hold on.
Yeah,
It
nobody
is
sleeps. Nobody
Nobody
sleeps.
Nobody
Sleeps.
sleeps.
Nobody Sleeps. And we've got two guests with us today. We've got Brittany and Jackie, and I'll let them introduce themselves. So, Brittany, tell us a little bit about who you are, where you are, and that
I'm
kind of
in
stuff.
the home of Walmart in Arkansas.
Oh, okay.
I am currently in mortuary school, about to take my final.
Nice.
I have 6 kids. I work at a funeral home part-time, and I'm just excited to be here.
I just realized what the picture is behind you. Literally did not. And there's a raccoon, which I can't see. Oh my
What
God.
is it? Bigfoot?
It's a Bigfoot.
Oh my God.
Wait, I have to see this.
I
Wait.
am done.
What the heck? Are you a Bigfoot person?
I'm a sucker for the weirdest things.
I like Mothman. I prefer Mothman.
Oh, that's a great picture. Always
It's
looking
awesome.
inside.
Like,
Yeah.
we've been on here for like 10 minutes and I totally, just while you're talking, like he locked eyes and I clicked on it and I was like,
Oh
oh
my
my Jesus.
God.
Oh, Pete. Well, welcome. I'm so glad you're here joining us. And
Thank you.
Jackie, introduce yourself.
I'm Jackie. I live in Cleveland, Ohio, and I just got accepted to mortuary college last week. And
Oh,
Good for you.
yay.
yeah, it's been a lot to get here, but I'm really excited. And I'm a mom of two. My kids are older, and so I'm kind of like on a new adventure. Carrie, I've been watching you for a while, and I thank you for having me on. This is great.
So excited. And where'd you get accepted?
Yeah, Des Moines.
To my nice.
Yeah.
DMAC, yeah.
And where do you
I've
go
been
to?
hearing,
Oh, go
I'm
ahead.
sorry.
No, go ahead, Jackie.
I've been hearing a lot of good things. I've applied to several places, but this really fit. So,
Yay. And where do you
Good.
go to school, Brittany? Where are you finishing?
Mountain home.
Okay.
So it's like 3 hours away from where I live. Um, but it's worth the drive.
That's a long drive.
They are amazing. It is an amazing school, and
Is that where
everybody
Matt
is so
is?
helpful. Huh?
Is that where Matt is?
Matt Buell?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay. Yeah. He's a lot of fun.
I haven't actually met him yet.
Oh, well, he's a
I've
lot of fun.
yeah.
That's awesome. Well, let's dive into this. Go ahead and Faith, tell us the synopsis kind of.
So we are in a living room and there's a bunch of people watching a movie, and I thought it was Mommy Dearest, but it's not.
Mm-mm. I don't know what
And
it is though.
it is, I looked it up. It's, I forget the name of it. It's some, like, it's not that. It's like the little girl is a murderer or something. I don't know. It's something crazy like that. Like The Good Son, but it's the bad daughter in like the 50s. Yeah. And the people they're just watching and making comments on it and kind of laughing. And there's a couple on a piece of furniture and that's just watching the movie. And he's got like oxygen and some other things, so it's pretty clear that he has some kind of health condition, and he pretty much just dies. I mean, it's not very. I mean,
Like I was feeling it just because you could tell like these were a couple and
yeah,
he was cherishing the man that died and he didn't like get all scared and say anything. He just like let it be a quiet
yeah.
moment while everyone was laughing and knowing that that's what he
Hmm.
heard last and stuff. It was
Yeah,
just like,
it was sweet.
yeah. And you ladies can jump in anytime. You just
Okay.
jump. So, but yeah, so we get introduced to Robert, who's only 48, and we don't know what he died from right then. We find out a little later. Um, and then we jump back into all of our storylines.
I'll say something. It's interesting that his partner made a point to say, he didn't die of AIDS. Um, it just kind of shows like the stigma.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That's what I got out of that. It was really emotional, and yeah, he just wanted to savor the moment with his love, and then going to have to explain that, maybe not having to, but feeling like he needed to like, oh, it wasn't, yeah,
Yeah.
it
Well, I
wasn't,
mean,
yeah.
this was what, 20 years ago when
Oh
this was
God,
25.
yeah,
done?
at least,
So
Yeah.
it was fresher. I mean, it was just 20 years post kind of the peak of AIDS, but still something that had and does still have not quite as much now, but stigma to it that the fact that he had to say that first when he was explaining and talking to them at the funeral home, it was, yeah, that was kind of like, aw,
yeah.
kind of poopy. Let's see. Nate is imagining and having all of these like in his dream and stuff that Ruth's in bed with him because Lisa and Ruth are starting to act the same way, and he's seeing a lot of Ruth's personality in Lisa. Brittany, what do you think of Lisa? Because
I don't like her.
yeah, Faith absolutely detests even her speaking. Like she
Yeah,
hates all of it.
I agree with Faith. No, I don't like her. She's not one, she's just not right for him.
Yeah.
And she's demeaning, like makes everything his fault in a way. And I don't like the way she treats him. But
Yeah.
she lets like uh Catherine O'Hara's character.
Yeah.
She lets her treat her like that, and then she treats him like that. I don't like
Yep.
her.
Did you like Brenda?
No, I'm not okay. So like, I don't love Lisa, but I don't like Nate. I'm probably gonna get a lot of stuff.
Oh.
I'm not a Nate fan. Maybe his character is meant to be disliked. I think he's a jerk. I I mean, say
Hmm.
what you want about Lisa. I mean, she's very giving and she's loving, but yeah, I don't like Nate.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I
Interesting.
can see that.
And we flip in where Maya's still sleeping in bed with them. You know, he snaps to reality and he's in bed with Lisa and Maya's in there sleeping with him, which drives me effing nuts. Like Lisa is so critical about the laundry detergent and what we feed our kid, but then she's like got this infant child wedged in between them in a bed, which is one of the number one ways that infants die. And I
Yep.
just blows my mind that she would do that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's on brand for her, like we were talking about before. She's over parents in a lot of ways. And so doesn't I mean, yeah, it's oh, I could never do that. Not only because of that, because like don't you want your space? I don't know.
I know
I
so
want my
many
space.
couples though that actually do that. They like it's common.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't agree with it, but yeah.
Yeah.
I
Like
never
the
did that with
gas
my
nut next to the bed. I
No,
don't.
like in the bed. Yeah, I know. No, I mean like, yeah, it's no.
no.
That's a hard arrangement. I'll just fast forward. That is a hard arrangement, not fast forward because it doesn't happen to make with parents when they accidentally smothered their kid and it's accidental death and you're meeting with them because it's not criminal per se, but you know that this baby's death could have been prevented and you still have to sit and make arrangements with them without passing judgment, which is hard.
Yeah, that's gotta be hard.
So hard because you want to be like, so and like lecture them, but it's not our job.
There is a couple out here that eventually I think got arrested. It happened once and then it happened again with another baby.
Oh,
Oh, that's
Uh,
fair.
yeah, I know some people are fine with it, but like we always had our brand newborn, like until they were a year old, they would be in their crib or pack and play at like the foot of our bed,
Mhm.
not ever in our bed with us.
yeah.
I flail in my sleep, so
I didn't give Helena a pillow and a blanket till she was 3.5.
yeah,
That's how extreme I was because I thought she was going to suffocate. She's 9 years old. I still look every night when I go to the bathroom because I feel like she's going to suffocate herself in her bed.
yeah. It was all thick onesies.
Yep. She did not have a pillow or even a blanket till she was 3.5. Seriously.
Did you guys see today? I saw in the news a woman got arrested down in Mineral Bluff, Georgia, which is where we go on vacation down to see Josh's family. It is a small little cute town. Like we're not talking New York City. And she got arrested because her 10-year-old walked from their house down
Yes.
into town to get a
Mm.
snack and went home. And the
Yep.
police saw him walking on the road, picked him up, returned him home, and they arrested her. And she could go to jail for up to a year for negligence. And she's like,
That's absurd.
he's 10 and he walked to town. Like,
Yeah.
what?
Then they come, then don't complain the kids can't do anything.
That's bananas. That's a side note because I just saw that
Yeah.
before we
No,
got.
but then, then you get people, these kids are useless. They don't know how to do anything because y'all act like they're helpless.
I
You
can't
know, I mean,
imagine.
we're old school parents and we are in every way. And, our kids, I'm pretty sure mostly self-sufficient. I mean, they can cook, they can clean, they do just about everything. Um, when I was young, my dad would send me to the gas station for cigarettes and beer and a newspaper. And they would just have it sitting there and like, it was just totally different. I rode the city bus when I was a preteen, so now those things are crazy to me. It's like you want to overparent, but then when they get out into the world, it's also, well, they don't know how to do anything. Well,
I was,
I mean, what are you gonna do?
I was babysitting when I was 12. I
I
Me
mean,
know,
too.
right?
like
Yeah.
3 children, like
Yes,
under, like they were
totally.
young children,
Yep.
like hours at a
Yeah.
time. Yeah.
I remember my dad writing me a note to go get him cigarettes from
Yeah.
it would be like a 3-minute drive down the street. But
Uh-huh.
he would have me and my 10-year-old brother walk down there.
Yeah.
And they just,
Yeah.
that's crazy.
Yeah.
It's a lot. It's
Arrested
a
for a
lot.
year. Like that's possibly like that's just
Yeah.
I can't.
I have my kids. I don't. So at their school, you're supposed to go in this car line to pick them up in front of the building, which I will not do.
Yeah.
They will walk. They can walk to my car. I'm not going to where all those cars are. And last year I was going to carpool with this lady. And when I told her, just so you know, I don't go in the car line, she wouldn't let her kid, who is a seventh grader, she didn't want to carpool anymore because she didn't feel like it was safe for her seventh grader to walk 3 blocks, unsupervised to my car with other kids. Seventh grader.
We have extremes. We have like
Yes.
over and then far under. It's like
Yes.
Depends on your district too, like in the county, at least in Ohio, because I asked, how old does your child like have to be alone after school, like to unlock the
Yeah.
door, be alone. I was told by my school district and everybody I talked to, there's not an exact age. They say 12-ish, but it is not an exact. It's not a law, at least where I live. It's not a
Mhm.
law that your child has to be a certain age. So it's very vague.
Yeah. It really depends on the kid too, because
oh yeah,
there's
gosh, yeah.
like I fully believe if I needed to get to the hospital, my 9-year-old could drive me to the hospital. I fully believe she could. I really do. Maybe not, but I think, we have never spared them any kind of work or, you know, they could run this household, but we could leave them alone for a week with no concerns, truly. Um, but I guess there's a lot of people that call that neglect. I call it, well, they know how to do dishes, they know how to prepare food for themselves, they know how to clean up, they know they have to eat, they know
Yeah.
they have to bathe, they know they have, you know what I mean? I mean, it's life skills stuff, but I don't know. But anyway, so
We
yeah,
went
Lisa,
sorry, I went
you
down a
did.
side road
That's all
there
right.
with
That's
the
okay.
co-sleeping. So going back to the gentleman when he came in to make arrangements, he says the AIDS comment and then talks about how he had been sick and talks about his life and um he is his partner was from the chorus.
Hmm.
So that's why he kind of was led to this funeral home is because his partner had been in the chorus. The guy from the chorus said, "Hey, you should call David."
Yeah.
And that's kind of where the connection came. One thing he says though is he says, yeah, his family doesn't accept him how he is. They've not been around. I'm his DPOA.
Yep.
And I was like,
Doesn't matter. That's
so,
cool. Yeah.
so, so
Yeah.
That was one big red flag. So if you don't
Oh, I know.
know
I
that,
felt the same way. I was like, please stop perpetuating that means anything to us.
no, because that's number one thing we gotta like squash an arrangement.
Yes, that is
Oh.
okay. If you are listening and you did not know this, write this down, put it in your something. I don't know what. Power of attorney ends at death.
Yeah.
Power of attorney ends at death. You cannot be the power of attorney for someone who doesn't exist because they are dead. You can be the personal representative of their will, but that is not the same thing. It doesn't give you the same rights. Even if you're the medical power of attorney, that doesn't have anything to do with death care because there's no medical power of attorney to be had for someone that doesn't exist. They're dead. And the amount of families that think that being the power of attorney means something as far as right of disposition and right to control the funeral is high, right? You may still have, be involved in their estate, have different things that you are in charge of, but right to disposition of the body and the right to control the funeral do not belong to anyone other than who your state statute says it does. And in some states, so in Colorado, the personal representative of the will is number one
Hmm.
before the spouse, which is uncommon. I think most states, the first person, is the surviving spouse.
Or like we have funeral disposition designee.
Or yes, or self-declaration of disposition. Yes, that too.
Do you guys know what you have in your states when it
In
comes?
Ohio, I did this just even before I decided to go to be a funeral director. From when my kids were young, I have a friend who's an attorney, and he said, "You get a living trust, get a trust because the trust not only, I mean, it states many things, right? It's everything that you own, it's personal needs and wants, but even if you like have that a trust." It's a will is one thing, but a trust is everything kind of encompassed. You know, the person that's in charge of the trust really has the say. Like you said, it's state by state, but here a trust rolls. I mean, yeah, it's interesting. I like the word designated too, because it's like, well, anybody could go in and say, well, they did designate me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Somebody else could be like, well, I'm designated, so
Well, we can't designate, like you can't, if you wrote something, put it in your will, it doesn't matter. If you put it in
right.
the trust, it doesn't matter. If you put it anywhere, it doesn't matter, except this one form, which has to be done and held on to, and it has to be witnessed and all this stuff. You can't just write in a will. And I have so many people that go to they're like, well, we met with our lawyer and he told us just to put this in this document and it'll be fine. I'm like, is it the funeral disposition designation form? Well, no, and I said, then it does not matter.
Yeah.
It does not matter. Then it falls back to the next of kin hierarchy.
Yep.
I'm sorry. And it's being led astray by a lot of legal stuff that had people that don't understand mortuary law because it's this much of the big law picture that they learn and it's not per se their fault because they don't know it. But yeah, if you're going to guide someone, then you need to look into it and understand it. So, Brittany, what do you have down in Arkansas?
I have no idea, actually. I'm from California.
Okay. Do you know what they have there?
I don't. I had just started going to mortuary school out there, finishing up the prerequisites, and then I moved out here. And I'm doing the prerequisites now, finishing those up.
Nice.
But yeah, I don't know.
You're going to learn them tomorrow, I bet.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm gonna ask.
But that's like one of the most common and frustrating things is having to argue with people that being the power of attorney doesn't matter to us.
Yeah.
It just doesn't because you're all
Gone.
and where it really gets where it really becomes a problem is when there's like 3 or 4 kids and one thinks, well, I'm the power of attorney. Y'all are equal. Sorry.
Yeah.
You're all are equal.
Or they
You know?
try and write checks out of a bank account that only had the dead person's name on it.
Yes.
And you're like, you have no access to that money if your name's not on the account. Well, I'm part of the company. You don't have access anymore. They are dead.
They're
Well,
dead.
what are we supposed to do? I don't know what you want me to tell you, but
Yeah.
so yeah, that is hard. And I was kind of waiting when he said that to see if they were going to choose cremation or burial because
Yeah.
he can do a burial service.
It doesn't matter if
Yeah. It's reverse.
I thought that too. I was wondering, well, it doesn't even matter. So
But I kind of waited because I was like, if they cremate him, I'm going to throw up my BS.
What they were trying to do, I think, at the time was say that to continue to make the point that gay people have to protect themselves in ways that straight people don't. So I think
Right.
when they were talking about how the family didn't accept him, but he was the other guy's power of attorney. I don't think at the time, 25 years ago, they were thinking about disposition or authorization or anything like
No.
that when they were making the show. They were just trying to further make the point that this is an additional step that these people have to do all the time because they're not recognized. And I think that's all it was. But from a funeral director's standpoint, hearing I'm the POA is like the
No.
worst. It's like a nightmare because you just know they have no idea what's really going to happen.
Well,
Yeah.
not to mention, I think at the time of the show, I might be wrong, but gay marriage wasn't legal. I mean, it was, not at all. So maybe they
No,
weren't even mentioning
they might
marriage,
have had civil unions, but no, it
maybe.
wasn't. Yeah.
Right. Now, see, I have a question for you guys because I've
Yeah.
heard it's also the spouse, like next of kin, yes, but like if they're married, where does that play in? Maybe it's state by state, but if they're married, do the siblings overrule the spouse
No,
then?
No,
no,
legally, the spouse is number
Okay.
one,
Right.
unless you have like in our
unless it's not,
state.
they're not. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
unless like faith state, it sounds like if you're the whatever, you're up top, or
Hmm.
if you're the disposition designee in Michigan, you're up top above the spouse. Otherwise, it's legal spouse. And we can't, unless every single family we ask if they are legally married and to show like their marriage license, which some funeral homes probably do. I don't know. We can't just ask same-sex couples. We can't just ask people we
Yeah.
think might not be, which I always, when I'm doing like the cremation authorization, that is part of it. As I say, by signing here, you are attesting to the fact you are the legal spouse of such and
Mhm.
such. So I make sure I
But we
read
don't
it.
have to remember. We don't have to. We're protected from good faith for that.
Yep.
A lot of
Interesting.
funeral homes, I don't know why they do those things. They've probably had an issue once and they think that they're doing additional due diligence, but they're really just opening doors they don't need to because we are protected in most states, in most, not all. There's good faith laws that apply, protections that apply to us. We do our due diligence by this is the authorization. It says this, you are attesting to this, this, and this. That's where it ends. We don't need to go trying to find relatives and all that. So
We don't get
we
family
don't.
trees. That's what I
Yep.
tell people because they'll be like, well, how do we know how many blah, blah, blah? And I'm like, I don't have a family tree. How did I know you existed? If, somebody came up
Yeah.
later, it's like, how would I know that you also were a family member or something? And so it definitely, some of those conversations can be hard. I had a lady once, oh, we were married. And then after everything was said and done, she goes, yeah, we were never legally married. We just did a little civil ceremony in some other country and we never got married here. So, and I
Yep.
was like,
I had a family like that too. The guy who came in and said that he was the husband, did all the stuff, and then here come her kids that I didn't even know existed, saying that they were never married, and I don't. And it's like not to be an ass about it, but at the end of the day, I don't care. That he signed the authorization. If you want to sue him for doing that. Yeah, we cremated her because he said he was a spouse and he signed. If you want to, you know what I mean? It's not our job to go looking into people's lives.
That's a good
Um,
point because I wonder how it's interesting legally as a funeral
yeah.
director, how much are you liable? You know?
yeah,
In most states have good faith protections
Mm.
for many occupations that have to operate in good faith by what people tell them is the truth. So, because of things like that, we can't be expected to investigate everybody's life. And then it becomes the point where it's like, okay, when somebody dies, all the family drama becomes a bigger deal, right? Sorry about the dog. Um, but we just can't get involved in that.
no.
We just can't. So the fact that, your mom married or didn't marry some random guy that you guys don't like and all that stuff, like
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, and part of when they sign that cremation authorization, it is laid out in there that I am attesting and I am assuming the responsibility. So let's say I don't want like my brother and sister involved. I just say, Yep, I'm the only kid. I sign it. They cremate somebody. My brother and sister show up and are upset. The funeral home didn't know they existed. I took responsibility and said I was the only child. I represented the majority. So it's really they have to come to me after me. It's the funeral home has kind of done their part in making the people signing take the responsibility on by verbiage and stuff. So it's making sure your verbiage on your cremation authorization is super locked in, to try and cover your boutade as much as possible with it. But yeah. Let's see. So he tells them that they're going to be having an opera for the guy. And what did you guys think of that? Like an opera? What did you envision?
I loved it. I
Yeah.
mean, I love music at funerals. I love it. I think it's great because there's people that really are, that's their love. And obviously, yeah, Puccini's last opera. I mean, it's I loved it. I thought it was great. And it was
I
a
think
close
it'd
casket.
be a dream come true for me. Truly, I would love that.
Brittany,
Yep.
what if you walked into a funeral and that's like what there was a stage show essentially going on with
Perfect. Every time we
I
should have been doing this from the beginning.
So it wasn't my dad's funeral, but it was his viewing, and we were playing Pantera.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
Ozzy Osbourne, Ozzy. Yeah, yeah. Right. That's
yeah,
yeah,
I would want
totally.
System of a Down to play at my funeral.
Yeah. Patsy
I
Cline, Loretta
Yeah,
Lynn,
I
you
love
know.
it.
Yeah.
I think it's great.
It is fun. I mean, they was it Nate kind of was having an issue with it, or
Well,
one
Nate,
of them
they went
because
down to the prep room and they were talking
was it
about
Rico?
it was
Frederico, I
Rico.
think.
Yeah, it was Rico talking about how they were going to need the stateroom for 3 days to set up, and the guy was going to pay for it. I thought it was interesting they put that part in because that's true, right? So if you, I have had a family who did not want another family to be able to have a visitation the same time. Fine, they paid for two visitations then, and they were happy to do it. So I think it was that was a good thing to throw in there. I was surprised at that level of detail, honestly, that they made the statement that, well, he's paying for the rooms for that long, because people will, and I've had them do that. And then Rico makes some kind of, I don't know what he says, but it's about how he feels about gay people again, and it's unfortunate.
Yeah. Now we've got going into Ruth's birthday. So the Ruth's birthday is part of the big storyline here, and um, Lisa wants to do a dinner for her. Nate's like, no flipping way, because that's not my mom. She doesn't want us to do a bunch for her, and Lisa doesn't listen. Do you think he was being honest, or do you think he just wanted to not have to do stuff with
I think
Lisa?
he wanted to not have to do stuff. I don't know. I mean, either way,
I
I
think
don't know.
he doesn't
Go
get
ahead.
it. Like
Hmm.
if
Yeah.
yeah, like he doesn't get it. Like you say that you don't want something, but you really do secretly like want someone to pay attention to you and notice you and celebrate you. And he takes it at face value. She doesn't want that. So don't do it. Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
But she really did, she really loved it.
Oh, absolutely loved it. Yeah.
She takes care of everybody else and makes sure
Yeah.
that they're all celebrated and stuff. And she, it's normal to want that back in return.
Curse of the Mother, right? That's what I feel like Ruth's character is during this whole show. Is like it's like a crucifixion, she's just like bleeding on the cross, she's just,
Yeah.
but she's so sweet. And I love her character. But
It's the empty stocking thing.
Oh
If you've
God,
ever
that was
seen
like
that,
the saddest video last.
oh my
Oh,
God, and it'll come up
stop,
every
I
year.
know.
TikTok will have them.
oh,
How many women are going to be posting a
Stop, I
video of
know.
their empty stocking when they
Yeah.
filled everybody else's and nobody in their household put anything in theirs? It's a epidemic. It's a pandemic,
it's
it
so
just
true.
is.
But I
Yeah.
think the beauty of it is that we see, Nate's fear of Lisa and his mom being so similar
Yeah.
is actually such a blessing to Ruth to have someone around who understands her
Hmm.
and understands kind of her personality, but more so what maybe she needs because Lisa needs that too and isn't getting it.
Yeah.
And I think that that's nice to see someone's bucket filled up a little bit.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, Brittany, you have 6 kids. So,
Yeah.
like, I mean, how often are you like getting to be the center of any attention when there's 6 kids? I feel like.
Probably all the time. They're probably climbing on her nonstop.
They're always lurking outside my bedroom door,
Yeah.
but they're all really, really good and they make me feel valued and loved. And
Aw.
we play video games and stuff together. And
That's awesome.
yeah, they do special little things for me. Like my son Reed, he's 8. He'll be like, "Can I make you lunch?" I'm like,
Oh,
"You don't have to do that." Or my son Dexter, he'll come in and like have like a steak. He's 14, but like he loves to cook. Yeah, they
That's
make
nice.
me feel good. I really lucked out.
speaking of Dexter, I just have to throw this in. That is what Josh and I are watching right now, like 2 episodes or whatever a night. And do you want to know how weird it is to watch both of these at the same time? And
I would
Oh, I
imagine.
bet.
I've heard it's great. I've heard it's great. And it's an older show, I think, than even, isn't it
yeah,
even older than
Yeah,
no,
it's
no, it's
probably
newer.
of the
15 years
same?
old maybe, but
Yeah,
yeah.
Okay.
That's
not
what I
quite as
named my
old.
son after.
Did you? That's
Yeah.
we've never watched it, and we said we all of a sudden randomly were like, we need a new show. What should we watch? So we started it. I've heard terrible things about how it ends, but then there's movies after, like all these others. So I'm like,
Yeah.
all right, we're just gonna power through. Everything can't be the ending of 6 Feet Under because the ending of the series is
Oh gosh.
amazing.
But don't, yeah, we can't, no, yeah.
Oh, it's so good. But so
Dexter is great. It's stressful. And
yeah,
with smoke that makes
Yeah.
me want to pick up a cigarette sometimes.
It is. It's
But
overwhelming. You're right,
mhm,
Brittany. It is really.
yeah,
It's
but
really.
oh yeah,
I think back to
mhm.
Nate and
sorry.
I think he's seeing I think what's happening is he's starting to identify more with his dad maybe
Mm.
and see that like maybe his dad felt that way about his mom and that's why he had that secret room and would, all that stuff and I think he doesn't want that and he's starting to fear. I think what he I don't think any maybe they do. I shouldn't say that. But I think many of us don't want a marriage like our parents.
Mm.
I would say that for a lot of people, right? And I think that he's starting to see that Lisa is so much like his mother and fear that he's going to have a marriage like his parents, which he has recently found out was not what he thought it was.
Mm. That's such a interesting insight.
Yeah.
That's what I think. I don't know.
No, I like it because I hadn't thought of Nathan at all, but that's very true. Like if Lisa is Ruth and he's going to be the Nathan, and so a little realization maybe there.
Nate's character, well, Ruth says it's interesting because she refers to her husband as Nathaniel,
Yeah.
but then, she calls her son Nate. I think that, during this whole show, Nate is just up and down. I mean, I don't know if you guys feel the same way. One minute he's so sweet and such a good, boyfriend, husband,
Mhm.
father, and then he's just a jerk.
Yep.
I
Oh,
think
Yeah.
he's playing catch up emotionally from being didn't he come from Seattle or somewhere in
Mhm.
Washington and wasn't around the family for years and then he comes home and kind of realizing their unit and I think he's playing catch up and then noticing that his parents' marriage wasn't perfect and he's feeling trapped like that too and yeah.
Mhm.
With what you said, Faith.
Yeah, I think so. Can we talk about Claire and these people at this school?
Yeah. So she's got a new teacher
I
and
don't like this. This upsets me.
does it? All right.
Well, it annoys me. I won't say it upsets me. I hate this trope of these wildly inspiring, intelligent professors. We're regular ass people. It's not, I don't know. I hate that trope of like, I'm the art guy or I'm the, the professor that has all this deep insight into all this like sage. They call it sage on a stage is what they call it. That trope of, professors being these like things. And let me just tell you, that is so not the case. And I don't know. I don't like that depiction. And as the series go on, you see what a mess Olivier is, but even the other guy, his friend or whatever, just this really we're so much above everything. We just understand everything, and everything we say is so disruptive and so meaningful, and so it's like it's annoying.
Yeah, her
Pretentious.
and what's the boy's name from class?
Russell.
Russell go out to have drinks with the art teacher and a guy who's there um, guest lecturing and go have drinks and stuff. And even though she's not old enough to drink, my golly, and they're having drinks and kind of all this conversation and whimsical wonder. And he's kind of, oh my God, you're amazing, Claire, and you're so great. And I don't know. Like, I'm like, is he grooming her and getting her like ready because he
I was
wants
just
to
going to
hit
say the
on her?
grooming. I think he's grooming both of them at the same time.
Yep,
I mean, as
totally
we,
is.
I feel like I don't want to spoil, but yeah, like
Yep.
it's the grooming on both sides.
Yeah, it's weird.
And can we please like acknowledge that he's actually like Harry from Sex and the City?
He
Like,
Yeah, he
is.
is. He
I
is.
can't look past it. I love him. I can't look him at
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. What is
Yeah.
his
But it's
name?
this like it's this
G. It starts with
trope of this like oh yeah, I
Yeah.
forget this trope of these like super intelligent, everything that they say is so, insightful and meaningful and cool.
like
And
beat
they're
Nikki
also
is
kind
what
of
I
like a
want to
little
say.
what's
Like
that?
beat Nikki. Like beat
Yeah, and
they're
like,
gonna sit with their bongos and everything I
everything
say is so enlightening and
yes, like everything's so deep and enlightening, and they're just so intelligent, and fuck the government and everything. It's just this like this isn't a real. And then they're also kind of being creepy with the students. It's like, can we just have a depiction of a college professor that it is their job, they don't want anything to do with their students after class. I don't want to hang out with them. They don't want to take them to bars and give them all this sage, stuff. They want to go home and, make dinner and put on their pajamas and watch Real Housewives or something. Like I just because you see this over and over and over and over, and it's so ridiculous to me. I don't know.
well, we've got I'm gonna hop over to kind of Ruth's story and we'll finish that one
Mhm.
out. So they have this she goes, well, Bettina and her go get massages and kind of have this like girl day because she's never had massages and gets to just feel pampered a little, which is not Ruth typically. And then they come home and Lisa has this whole dinner and then she
Yeah.
offers to give her a foot massage and Bettina comes over and everybody's a little wacky and it's not going exactly like Lisa wants. She's such a control freak, but it still goes beautifully. What did you guys think of the whole party and stuff?
I thought it was weird.
Well, I love Kathy Bates. I mean, love that she is in this series. I don't know if you
Mhm.
guys noticed this in the credits. The producer or director at the end of, the song, how they have the music, it'll show director. Usually it's somebody different. And I don't know if you guys know this, but she's helped direct it, like produce, direct many of the shows.
Oh,
Oh,
If you watch some of the earlier ones, it says Kathy Bates, like directed by, produced by
oh,
Kathy
cool.
Bates. So
oh,
yeah,
so she was part of it from the early. That's crazy.
yeah.
I like
Is Ryan
Kathy
Murphy
Bates.
part of this?
No.
Because a lot of his like work family is in it.
Yeah. Nope.
Hmm.
So I don't know. Maybe the show inspired him or something to use some of those actors, but no, he's not. And um but no, I thought it was weird. I don't know why. Just like there was something. Well, because Nate was kind of having those weird, like not dreams, but those weird, you know what I mean?
Hallucination.
Yeah, like hallucination things. And it was like he was having a moment about, I don't know what. And I did feel, there was a little bit of carry back to kind of the gay couple when Ruth said, "Oh, you're family, dear." And then you just see David and Keith look at each other because nobody considers Keith family, even though they're together.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Ruth, I like it when Ruth has her hair down.
Yeah.
Same.
It's a better version of it's a different version of Ruth than the yeah, Lisa rubbing her feet and everything and it was just yeah, it was nice to see Ruth happy and then Nate goes downstairs and Nathaniel comes and talks to him. So that does kind of wrap in all of that thought from before that you said, Faith, where, he really is feeling, maybe his brain is going cuckoo cuckoo right now too, or who
Yeah.
knows, but
I was thinking that too. Like he's almost like he's reevaluating his life because of his
Yeah.
condition. And yeah, I thought that too.
Yeah, I mean, he's basically seeing that this is going to be his life for the next 30 years, and
yeah.
he's just going to be running the funeral home like his dad and married to basically his mom. And
Be unhappy and keep skirting
yeah.
off. What were you gonna say, Brittany?
Ghost Nathaniel reminds him that he's just like his dad.
See, I wonder if it's even because the first two seasons, while he was kind of figuring out this whole brain thing, we wondered, okay, is it what's going on? Is health that is causing these hallucinations? Is it really crossover to, an alternate whatever, like ghosts? Like, what is it? So
Mhm.
part of me wonders, are they doing his conversation with him, showing us that everything is not okay after his surgery?
Could
And
see
like,
that.
oh, he's
Yeah,
back to having hallucination, so maybe something's not quite right with him still with his
hmm,
brain.
I didn't think of that. Maybe.
I don't
I think
know.
he's an absolute narcissist. I think they're trying to show like he's supposed to be the main character, although I think David is.
Yeah.
But I think they're trying to show that he's an absolute narcissist because I mean everything he does is about him. If you look at like his pattern with women and it's all about him.
Yeah.
Like I don't know if you guys noticed the part where he was like when Lisa quit her job and they had to move in the carriage house that he said, I wish you would have talked to me before you quit your job,
We
What
just
did I just say?
we
What did I
recorded
just?
Oh, were
right
you?
before, and that was big part of what we talked about was that's not normal for him to talk like that. So the
Right.
fact that he wanted her to stay in a bad work situation where the lady's yelling at him all the time too to move his car, like nothing about it is great, but he didn't want her to quit was such a question mark of like what just happened.
And the look on his face, like he was like mad, like
Yeah.
you should talk to me like you're a jerk. I don't like him. He's just such a nurse. I don't know.
Well, we've got let me see if there's anything else about the Ruth. I think it's all the same. And then when Claire gets home later though, and she says, "Hey, how was your party?" And she says, "It was really lovely." And she says, "Well, I'm sorry I missed that." And then she invites Ruth to go to an art show with her the next day. And
Hmm.
I love those little mother-daughter moments where Claire lets her mom be the mom and Ruth connects with
Hmm.
Claire. And it's nice because of how combative Claire was for a long time there. So it's like they are finding this appreciation for each other. So we walk into the preparation room and we are getting our deceased Robert ready, and he has a Prince Albert piercing. And so
They
Dave,
had their faces so close to that man's penis. Did you notice this? Why did they have to look at it so close?
It's interesting.
curiosity, man.
Have you ever put your face that close to a person's dead body, first of all?
I've gotten very dang close, but not to genitals. No.
With a mask, I would imagine. Well, I mean, if you're on a transfer, but you know what I mean? Have you ever brought a body to your prep room and without any PPE, and they had gowns but no masks or
Yeah.
anything, and you're right down there in like
When
somebody's,
I'm doing makeup, sure.
yeah, sure,
Much
but like,
closer. I'm like picking off like
sure.
eyelashes
But
that
they've
have
been
fallen.
disinfected, they've been all that by
They're
then.
embalmed. Yeah, I'm not getting up that close with.
You've just pulled them over onto the table, and you're going to get that close not only to someone who is dead that you have not even washed or anything yet, or and their penis.
Especially for Rico, who
I know.
is homophobic,
Yeah.
and he's right up next to a gay man's penis. To me,
Yeah.
like, that is like an extra level for him of why he would not be near it.
Right?
But I love that David was like, do you really want me to tell you about it? Do you really want me to tell you what piercings I have? Do you really want to know?
Yeah.
And so it was kind of great that Dave could just be him, like, hey, here's my gay self, and I'm answering just as I am, because he was so restrained for so long. And that Rico, who he knows is kind of objective, they have this little interchange, and I loved that little scene. And there was a lot of things that I didn't need to like, hey, here we are. But
Mhm.
have you guys ever seen uh Prince Albert peanut?
I've never seen one, but I have a friend who has one.
Oh,
I have seen, and I have a friend and have seen, yes.
I don't
Yeah.
think I've ever had a deceased that had one. I've never known a man to have one. I know people who have them, but never
Allegedly.
anybody I dated or anything. But so many questions like how much did that hurt? But I guess it's no different than like nipple rings, but I don't want to do that either. It seems terrible. I don't know. Some of that stuff is interesting because we do care for everybody of every walk. So we do see lots of crazy tattoos and modifications and all
Mhm.
sorts of things. Yeah, I, yeah. So they talk, Rico asks a bunch of questions. And then, oh, they talk about balls being shaved too, because
I don't remember this from the early
do you
2000s.
all shave your balls? And Dave's like, well, yes, I do. He's like, kind of like,
I like when he goes, Keith doesn't, Keith's not hairy. He doesn't, but I do. I'm hairy. Like he's very matter of
He's
fact.
trying to freak him out. He's giving him exactly what he wants, you know.
I
yeah.
think Rico actually was like curious. I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
I really do. I think he was coming from a place of just asking, to be honest. It kind of shows his
I think
vulnerability.
David was giving him a little bit more detail just to wig him out a little bit because he knew he was homophobic. But I don't remember the shaving the balls in the early 2000s. I don't know.
I don't have balls to shave, so would
Well, I
not
don't either, but I don't
call.
remember them
I
being shaved, other people's being shaved. I don't know.
have no
Maybe it
idea.
was.
It's just so funny. Are they, yeah, are balls hairy? I don't even like, I'm, try-
Sometimes.
I'm trying to like, did you know? Balls-
I mean, they're not like, it's not like I mean, they're just,
I think it's individual. I think it depends on the person and their
yeah.
upbringing. And
They're not
yeah,
like the thing on the top of your hat. They're like,
Look at that
you
fuzzy
know,
peach.
you've got like some hair, but usually straight. It's not,
Oh, hairy balls.
well,
but how did this jump from? Yeah,
I don't know.
You're turning red, Kari.
oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
there's their hat.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Good
So
Lord.
we have the
You are
opera.
red.
So we have the opera. I wrote down so cool, magical, and then the eulogy was just like I was crying, and I love that Rico was moved by it. I think that this episode opened him up a little bit to understand, like, oh, there's balls, there's penis.
You
You
know what? You
have
know
and
what we didn't
let's have a
talk about?
conversation.
You know what we didn't talk about in the last episode that we could on this one? The end of the last episode, Nate and Rico are cleaning up the chapel. And Rico was like, I don't know if this is for me, like this
Oh,
upstairs stuff. Like, how do
yeah.
you, because it really bothers Rico to see people in grief.
I
Doesn't bother him to do the prep and do all those things. And, you know, you can do that all day long. But when he goes upstairs to like meet with families or be a director, it really bothers him to have to see people in grief. And he asks Nate, how do you I just always imagine it's my wife or my kids or whatever he says. Um, like how do you get over that? Which I think was an interesting conversation to have that they had.
Well, and you're seeing him much more emotional with each family he's meeting with.
Yeah,
The last one really bothered him because it was a uncalled for. It was just an
right.
illogical, random, terrible thing that happened. And so he was very moved. And like this one, he is crying, and the funeral's just beautiful, and the eulogy is beautiful. And I wrote down from the eulogy, when he says, it was not always easy, it was not always fun, but it is always worth it. And I was like, yes,
Hmm.
it is, man. Yes, it is. Like, it's just, it was good. It was so beautiful. So, it's nice to see Rico connecting, but if he can't control that side
Yeah.
of him in some ways, then yeah, it's not going to work for him. He's not going to enjoy the work, and he's going to get overly tied to the emotions and
Yeah.
the families and things. And you just can't do that. And it makes it sound like we have to be um
Robotic.
heartless or cold or something, and that's not it, but there's a little buffer there that we have to have between their emotion and us.
Hmm.
And
I did a funeral. I was doing volunteer hours at the time, and there was this man, I think he was 30, and he was military, and it wasn't a military related death, but his sister gave the most beautiful eulogy, and I'm like in the background, like turning my head and like trying to not like weep because it was beautiful. And I wanted to go up to her and talk to her about actually the One Last Wave project.
yeah.
Yeah, because he was Navy,
Oh,
and I couldn't bring myself to do it. Like I didn't know if it was appropriate or not. So and when it came to like dressing bodies and stuff, like I'm cool with that. Like I
yeah.
don't know how to speak to people quite yet. And I think Rico's kind of the same.
Yeah. It's a learned, we were talking when Faith and I were recording the last episode about there's things you teach and things that you can learn, but there's things that you just are either going to have or not have. And some of that is how to interact with people, how to show compassion with it being a selfish compassion in a lot of ways. Because you see some people go into the business and they're like, well, I had a loss, so I'm going to be great at this. Then
No.
it just keeps resurfacing. And then they talk about their own loss to families, and families are like, why are you even talking like
Yeah.
to me about this? Like, you're supposed to be taking care of me. And it just doesn't work. And they go in with the right heart, but the mentality and the emotions are not stable enough from their own loss to focus on someone else's. And it just doesn't work. And I think the same as that's kind of where some of it, like, you either have that turn off switch that you can, work with, or you don't. And some people just,
Hmm.
they don't, they get too wrapped up in all of it, and they can do, and maybe you're not even good at the body work. You can whittle through it and you're amazing with families, but the body work is just so. So it's like, but
I
we,
think everybody prefers one over the other, maybe. I think most people do. I won't say everybody. Um, but you're right that, people have asked me a million times in my career, well, how do you how do you do it? I don't know. It's not hard for me. It's never been hard for me. And I've cried with many families and many funerals, and I'm not embarrassed about that at all. But I never had to learn how to compartmentalize or anything. I say that all the time, like, well, what made you want to go into this? I was just born to it. I don't know. I just have all the abilities, and that's it. And I've never had to learn how to leave it at work or how to this or that. And so you're right. I mean, you either can or you can't, and you can't really teach that. I think that you can teach people skills and ways, to make that better, but if you can't do it, you can't do it.
this I talk about, and I just talked about in my live the other day too, that, when you first go to work at the funeral home, it's one of the key things I say is you have to constantly remind yourself it's not about you, it's not your
Yeah.
loss, this isn't your family member, because we are geared to think of ourselves and put ourselves in scenarios like, okay, if I was in that scenario, how would I do things and what would I do? But when we're standing with the family, we can't, and looking at the, saying goodbye to their loved one, we can't go, oh, if this was my dad. And
Yeah.
then I'm a mess in the corner and I'm not doing what I need to do. And so some of it is just retraining what we've always learned, that blood means pain. It doesn't with
Yep.
us. when, you're saying goodbye at a casket that you have to be sad. Well, we don't when we're the ones making sure it's all going well. And so it's retraining a little bit of your brain and hoping that the rest of the emotion follows. But there's some people that can do this business for a specific period of years and then it's too much or they suffer their own loss. One of the best funeral directors I've ever worked with, he lost his wife and his daughter's friend was murdered all within a short period of time. And it just like changed him. And I saw where he would come in and he would either be kind of grumpy or he would be highly emotional. He could never like get in a zone and be who he used to be as a director. And it's not that it's bad, it's just that life change, your moods change, your emotions changed. Some people get done with the bullshittery of just humans, and
Yeah.
society and how people are and their demands, and they just don't want to do it anymore. But yeah. So Rico's really touched. And then Dave goes home and he cries to Keith and he tells him he wants them to last forever. And him cry, he's such a good actor.
I love
Yeah,
it.
Like I feel him when he is doing scenes like that. Like I am feeling him and
Mhm.
believing 110% his emotion and his pain and his everything. It's just he's so good. And I always am like,
Mhm.
this is so good. In my notes, I'm always like, he's amazing. 'Cause
He
he's so,
really is.
he's so great. He's so talented for all the stuff that he does.
He
he
really
is.
is.
Yeah. So well, thank you, ladies, for joining us. We'll have to have you back for another episode. We got many, many more coming.
We
So
do.
next week, we get introduced to a main new character for a short period of time. An apprentice is coming on board. So that is going to be a fun episode to watch. We've got some apprentices coming on to chat about that episode as we chat about it. So
Yep.
thank you guys for joining us, and we'll see you next week for episode 5, season 3.
Thank you for
Bye.
having me. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. It was
Yeah.
fun. Thanks.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.